Hey everybody, I apologize. I need to still fix my camera, which I'll do in a second. But good morning from Rye, New York. And I am here with our special guest today, Miss Gina Díez Barroso, and my good friend Wendy Kraft, which is not far from me actually in Westchester. So first of all, good morning. And Gina, I believe you're currently in Florida.
Mexico City.
Oh, you're in Mexico City.
Mexico City. Yes.
Right. And I will start, before we'll get going. I mean, I have Wendy here, who always helps me when I have, speakers that I don't think I can handle by myself. I call Wendy. And I want to read a little bit about you and Wendy before we start and ask you some questions, including how COVID is in Mexico City right now. It's such a fascinating story. I mean, many of the people here today read your story, know about it. I wrote a post about it. I think in general, a unique story of a next generation that was not typical next generation. I believe as a woman growing. Rachel, I believe that you are somehow on the call. Okay, and not a common next generation, a woman in Mexico in the 1970s, where I believe, I will put it in my words, later on we'll hear it from you. I believe women in Mexico City in the 1970s should mostly do what, they're told and be where they should be and not, overwhelm people too much, which wasn't the case for Gina, who never took no for an answer, which was kind of weird, I guess, back then. And then, she was working, had a grandfather's company, which we'll talk about in a second, which is today the world's largest network in Latin America, traded on the NYSE. And she brought women magazines that were not existent back then in Mexico. I believe most people said, well, that's crazy, that's stupid. She's the daughter of the owner, so I guess that's why she's going to get it her way. Today, I believe it's probably the most successful, one of the most successful parts of that company today. Then she reinvented herself in real estate, okay, with a company that today employs hundreds of people. We'll talk about that. Then reinvented herself again in building a university. And I believe even then people told her, you're a great entrepreneur, but university? Who are you to build a university? And she built what is considered today the highest tier university, I believe, in the area. And she did so much more. So let me start and read a little bit the bio before we dive into the story. So Gina is a successful businesswoman, entrepreneur, and philanthropist with more than 30 years of experience, committed to the development of design and innovation projects, to the improvement of creative education and the development and career advancement of women. I think women and education has been two pillars of what you've been doing throughout the years. She's the founder and president of Dahlia Empower, a lifelong learning global project dedicated to support women in reaching their personal and professional goals, and one of Grupo Direct, one of the leading international design, architecture, and real estate development companies in Mexico, with a subsidiary companies, more than 600 employees, and with offices in Mexico and the US. She's also the founder of Central University, the leading university in Mexico focused exclusively on creating studies with a strong emphasis on business and entrepreneurship, with currently over 3,000 students that offers 7 BAs, 20 master degrees, and more than 200 courses. Unbelievable when we're gonna hear how you started and people told you to, come on, seek other areas, please. With her commitment to philanthropy, 28 years ago, she started a Direct Foundation dedicated to eradicating domestic violence and bullying in schools, and the Pro Education Central Foundation, which grants merit-based scholarships to students in creative studies. She's an active board member of several companies and an advisor for numerous international and national organizations. She's the representative of Mexico at the W20, the Women Initiative of the G20, and she was also appointed Mexico's private sector representative to Empower, an initiative that reports directly to the G20. She's a member of WPO, Women President Organization. You all know YPO, and the only Latin American member of C200, 200 women business leaders of the world. And the Global Women Business Leadership Organization. She's an enthusiastic business and motivational lecturer, having spoken in numerous business schools and other venues across the United States, Latin America, and Europe. Her grandfather built the NYSE traded Spanish television network, Grupo Televisa, SAB, the largest Spanish television network in the world. She joined the company's publication division and made them start several magazines for women, first in Mexico, and we'll hear about that, but today it's one of the company's strongest products. At around, I'm jumping here, right? Because if I read the bio, we'll end up at 11:40. So at around 43, as a big believer that education is highly important and could leave a real positive impact in Mexico, she decided to open her own university. Today, Universidad Centro is one of the topics I mentioned. We'll jump into that story in a second. Couple of words about Wendy here. If most of you, I believe, have seen her at our events and at other events. Wendy currently is the Chief Operating Officer of Favara, a family office focused on real estate. But
Fulcrum, Danny?
Sorry?
Chief of Staff of Fulcrum.
Sorry, Fulcrum. Sorry, I read something that's not, that was before, right. Kent Swig, for all of you that know the real estate family in New York City. And before, she worked in various family office groups as the CIO in different positions, COO. She worked with the Schneider family. I believe that's when we met over, I guess, 10 years ago. Schneider family serving as vice president and general counsel and assisted them in separating the existing family office from the family's operating company. She's a member of many family office associations and a frequent speaker on family office topics all around the world. And she's going to help me run this discussion here today. And you cannot help me fix my camera, so that I'm going to do when you're going to ask a question. And maybe finally we can start 12 minutes after we open, really, with such an impressive bio. Maybe I'll start by just asking Gina, how is COVID in Mexico?
Well, it's not good. Definitely not good. You know, I think we don't believe in the figures that the government is putting out, although we have been going down, you know, very, very fast as far as the, you know, the hospitalizations are much lower, deaths, thank God, much lower. You know, things are getting better though, but numbers are a question mark. You know, we haven't vaccinated as many people as we should. I think Mexico, the government, you know, it's a populist government, which doesn't help business. And I think they did a mistake in not buying enough vaccines in the beginning. So now they're kind of rushing, but we're going at a slow pace, but getting better, much better. You know, our hospitalizations is about, I think 40%, 45%, and at some point it was like 85, 90. So that's getting better, but not good.
And people get support in Mexico? I mean, in the US, they have the PPP loan and, you know, the unemployed, nothing.
Zero. You know, the business community is getting zero. That, I mean, I'm on the board of Grupo Santander Global, you know, the bank, the financial group. And it's amazing because in every, you know, it's a global institution, Santander, and every place we are located, they both had help, you know, the business community, especially, you know, SMEs, and Mexico, zero. So, you know, that's not even a tax bracket. So, you know, a tax incentive, nothing. So it's tough. It's tough for the business community to keep on going, yeah.
And people that are unemployed are just unemployed, that's it, no money coming in?
No, people unemployed, they have, in Mexico, we have a pretty strong unemployment. When you fire somebody, you have to pay them like almost a year, you know, so they still have something. He is giving money, very little money to certain groups that will help him with elections. You know, that's a populist government. You know, what can I tell you? It's like, it's all over Latin America now, and it's not getting good for business.
And the private sector doesn't have power to influence the government?
Well, yes, it does. No, not when they don't want to hear you. You know, they don't have enough power. although the business community in Mexico is very strong, the companies are big, very big. You know, we export to the United States $1 billion a day. So, and also the United States imports to Mexico more or less the same amount. So that's going on well. So, you know, it's a strong business community. The problem are the small companies, you know, the SMEs.
Wow. Well, I hope things get better. Maybe we'll start, and Wendy will jump with questions throughout our discussion, but maybe we can start with the beginning. I mean, your family history, you had a very particular, by the way, what I didn't mention and what I hope nobody talks about a lot in other sessions, because I know a lot of people heard you in other places, is what actually you and I talked about, which is the next generation of Gina is as impressive as any. We'll talk about it later on. I mean, amazing. One is writing for HBO, and the other has a media company, and each one is very, very successful on their own in different spaces. That's not taken for granted. We should talk about that. So maybe when we start, you know, your upbringing, growing up in your family, how was it? Were you pushed into the family business, or in your family they just let, you choose your own path? How were you received? I know it wasn't an easy path for you, especially being a woman in Mexico, which I didn't know. How was that, perceived by others? Yeah, happy to hear the beginning and the early days in the company. And if people really, treated you as an important, entrepreneur with great ideas, or as the boss's daughter that is just here for a while.
No, let me tell you a little bit of my upbringing. I was the number 4 of 5 children in my family, and from it was 2 boys and 3 girls, and from me the next daughter down was 10 years younger. So it was like, I was like the youngest for 10 years, and I didn't get very along with my mother that well. My mother being the daughter of the founder of Televisa, I didn't get along with her very well. Not that I got, I had a bad relationship. I just wasn't that close. And now at my age, I realized that I didn't get along because I was very similar to her, and sometimes we crashed. So I was very close to my father, super close to my father. He and I, spent hours talking about my plans, my future, the whole thing. And when I was 11 years old, my father had to go to Acapulco, Mexico for an NBC convention. My father became like the son that like another son to my grandfather. He was the second in Televisa. He was the second man there. So he went to Acapulco for the NBC convention. And when I came back from school, they told me that he had died, that the plane crashed. So that was when I was 11 years old. So I think that was my number one and strongest resilience testing, which at the time I didn't even know how resilience was written. Now everybody talks about resilience. And then my father had left. He was dead. My mother was 38 years old with 5 children, and she had a lot in her hands. So we grew up, especially I think I grew up very much alone. Like when they tell me that if I had somebody pushing me, I didn't have anybody pushing me. What pushed me was every single day I spent with my father, which I really wanted to prove him, although he wasn't there physically, but he was there spiritually till now. And when he died, my grandfather, the founder of Televisa, the father of my mother, took us under his wing. So, we grew up looking at a person that was absolutely visionary, that believed in Mexico, believed in the relations between United States and Mexico, because he ended, in 1930, he started the radio station. Then after that, he started the television, the color television. He brought, the first media company to Mexico, but also what was very impressive then, it was that he believed so much in the United States and Mexico relationship that he went into the satellite business at that time, which nobody talked about satellites. And he ended up getting Panam Sat, that actually it's now there, flying somewhere. So he became partnered with an American person, because the United States, they don't allow you to own more than X percentage if you're not a United States citizen. in telecommunications. So he became a partner with somebody, and they grew the business to be the most important Spanish-speaking television in the world. So I grew up not expecting anybody, nobody worked in the company, only men, only the men of the family. So, when I was 19, I wanted to work in the company. So they told me, okay, go to the editorial division, which I did. And after a year there, I saw that there were so many publications going back and forth. And they had like 40 publications in the editorial division of Televisa at the time. And
by the way, before you go there, just your siblings, were they also working in the company?
My brothers.
So you were one. So you were the only daughter, and your brothers worked. They did work at the company.
Yeah, my brother actually. My eldest brother was the one that put Televisa public in the New York Stock Exchange. Yeah, he was really very smart brothers. So, when I was working in the company, that's when I was very, very interested in communicating with the younger girls. I thought that they were very left alone, that they were the most needed, and nobody was talking to them. There were like, 40, 50 publications that spoke to women my age now, and 50 years old, 40 years old. And what happened with the girls that are getting into decision making, which is like 10 to 15 years old? Nobody was speaking to them. So every time I went to my boss, he said, forget it. I mean, we don't need a magazine for these kids. I mean, who's going to buy it? So I kept going to what you said then. My mother always labeled me as somebody very difficult because I never took no for an answer. That was like my label. When I was young, it was a label that I wanted to hide because I thought it was a really bad thing for me. And now if I would have a tattoo, I would tattoo that in my body, because believe me, that has been what helped me to achieve everything that I want, looking for the right person that believe that my project can be their project. So when they told me, no, you cannot do this magazine, I said, okay, strike number one. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to be bugging until the time that he gets tired and he says, okay, go ahead, which that happened. After a few no's, he ended up saying, yes, go ahead. And thinking that probably in a year, that magazine was going to be in in the drawer of the company and nobody was going to buy it. Well, to his surprise, the magazine is now like 38 years old. And when they gave me an honor just 3 years ago for the 35th year of the magazine, me and my husband went thinking, when my husband asked me, what do you think is going to happen? I said, it's probably going to be like 100 people. And I mean, it's nice that they honor me because I invented and created it. When I went there, there was 8,000 girls literally from 10 to 15 yelling like if I was Justin Bieber. I mean, you have no idea. So you realize that it is incredibly needed for these girls to be guided. And the head of the television, of the editorial division of Televisa now, told me that although printed magazines are getting, they're not working, this magazine, it's still being printed very heavily because the little girls collect the magazines. They still collect all the numbers. So it was really nice. That was my first endeavor in Televisa. But when I was 26, I didn't want to work for the family, although it feels protected. I mean, when you work for such an amazing, humongous company, you have a problem, you go to the legal. If you have a county, you go to the department of this, department of that, department. You're like a orchestra director, And I wanted more to be hands-on person, so I left the company at 26, and my formation is design. So I always work under frustration. But instead of getting frustrated, I try to fix what I think is wrong. At the time, I saw that, Mexico, if anybody has been in Mexico City, it's full of very beautiful pre-colonial and colonial homes, with walls like super thick. And when I saw architects coming, I just, literally demolished them to start a new project. I couldn't believe it. So I said, I'm going to put a company where we save these beautiful homes and we rebuild them, but saving them. That was one of my goals. Second, I thought, if anybody wants to do anything in real estate, they have to deal with so many companies that they get crazy. They have to first buy the land. Then after the land, they have to look for an architect that is probably going to tell them that they bought the wrong land. And then you're going to find somebody to build a house, a builder, and then an interior designer that's going to probably tell you that you should have called her before or him before because now they have to change the whole thing inside in order to put whatever you want to put inside. So I said, I'm going to build a vertical company where architecture and design gets together, and you come in and you say, I need this real estate project, and you deal with one company. So I had a real estate division, a construction company, architects. I had, at some point, I had like 30 architects. And then you had interior designers, and I also represent like 25 lines of things throughout the world. So I had a trade showroom, which became pretty successful because nobody did it. So, I started like with 3 or 4 employees, and it grew to probably 400. And we started doing, basically residential, but then I also did some commercial projects. And then I opened in the United States. And when I was 43, it was exactly as you said, I was happy, very happy, because I had achieved a lot. And let me go a little bit back to the women issue. When they asked me if it was very difficult for me to go into construction, because construction is a male-dominated sector. Honestly, Danny, I never questioned myself if I was a man or a woman doing a job. I just needed to do it. And if you do it well, gender is not the issue. Gender doesn't matter. And they were not talking about the daughter of, it was my company. And that's why I didn't want to link it to Televisa in any way. Actually, I don't work for Televisa at all. Although I admire what my grandfather did, but I don't work for the company. So, when I started dealing with all male, because, in construction, there's no women there. So when I was 42, I was, again, my frustration was getting into my head, because I saw how the universities were teaching. And I'm not talking about Mexico. I am a global citizen. I travel a lot, and I see a lot of things happening. And the minute you go into university and you try to divide the brain into right or left, that's wrong. You have one brain, you have to develop both sides in order to conquer the world. So my frustration was like, if you're a creative person, you have to really go into the right side of the brain, work on the right side of the brain, and you don't have a clue of how to do a business. And then if you're an analytic, the left side of the brain, mathematic, whatever, they'd be very strong in this, but you have no clue in creative thinking. And if something happens like now, like COVID, the companies that are coming out successfully as companies that are innovative, that can do a change, that are creative thinkers. So what do you do with this ultra developed left side of the brain? So I said, we need to do a university that considers the brain as one, and that all the creative people can study, because I was also mad that some parents, and I'm sure people in your audience that are that handle family business know, that let's say that you have a family of 4, 5, 3, whatever, and one wants to be a film director, a film producer, or a designer of something. The first thing the father that is not in the creative world would say, okay, I know you're going to take some movies, but what are you going to do? Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Isn't it? Isn't Wendy? And the problem is that if the father is strong enough to convince this kid to be a lawyer or an accountant or a whatever, he's gonna be miserable, and he's gonna do a very bad job in that. If you really encourage your child to be whatever he wants to do and do it extremely well, next thing you see, he's gonna get an Oscar. So that's the vision that I wanted to give the students. And also I don't believe in doing anything where borders are tied to your business. I think that now more than ever, the borders are erased, and you have to see the world as one. So if you start a business, which I did in education, I said, I want to give them more than a title or something that says that they study. I want to give them a passport to the world. If they want to go and live in the United States, in Europe, in South America, in Australia, wherever they want to live, they are going to be successful. So that was when I decided to go into education. And I remember going to my mentor, that is not such an active mentor, but it was somebody that I really admire. And actually he was one of the top people in Endeavor, and then he went to Evercore, and he was the former Secretary of Finance of Mexico. He's an amazing person. And I went with him and I said, Pedro, I need your help. And he goes, yes, of course, what can I do for you? And I said, I want to build a university. And he goes, you gotta be kidding me. I said, no, honestly, I'm kidding. And you know that I'm not kidding. I want to build a university. And my downside to all of your audience is that I'm not an academic person. I got married, talking about mistakes. I mean, I got married at 19. I got divorced at 26, but that's another story, another program. But the thing is that I don't have a master's degree. I don't have a PhD. So who was going to believe me? So when I told Pedro, he said, nobody builds a university. And I said, honestly, I am going to build a university. So please tell me what to do, because honestly, I don't know who to go to. And he said, he's on the board of one of the best universities in Mexico. And he said, I just want to give you one advice. If you want to invest, let's say 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, I don't care. Whatever you want to advise, put the majority in the educational model. Don't put it in a building. Because knowing you, you are a real estate developer, you're going to dream about this amazing building, and then you're going to end up with a very fractional percentage of your money for the educational model. So do a heavy investment in your education model, and then it doesn't matter if you start in a house. It doesn't matter where you start. If you grow, you move. But don't start in making this amazing campus and then you end up with no money. So I did it. I did the way he told me to do it. We started in a building, but in a small building. It was like 40,000 square feet, which for a university is small. And after what was like probably 10 years, we had grown 10x. And it's interesting because, one of the things that I did, it took me 6 years in research and development. I hired the best of the best in the world. I mean, actually, my dean is from Austria. And when she came, she came without speaking any Spanish. And I wanted somebody that had both sides of the brain fully developed. So she was a liberal arts person, but she also did an MBA, and she worked at Bain Consulting. And after many years of Bain, she was hired by the government of Austria to get the museums of Austria profitable for the country. So she had like the whole thing. So when she came to Mexico, very Austrian, and I am very Mexican, you can imagine that these cultures do not mix pretty well. So, she came and she said, I can give you 3 years because I'm getting married to this guy from Spain and we're putting an investment banking office in Johannesburg. So I said, fine, 3 years of your brain is good, whatever you can give me. So she came in, and to make a long story short, she's been with me 19 years. She has two Mexican babies. She never got married to this person, but they had a very nice relationship. And she dominates Spanish like you have no idea. She eats more Mexican food that I do. And now she's a partner in the university. I gave her stock options. She's a partner, and she runs the university like if she would, amazingly well. So that's the story of Centro. One of the other stories of my university is that because I had to do it, when everybody told me that I was crazy, I hired a marketing company to give me a market study to see if it was going to work. After, I don't know how many dollars and the whole thing, and I hired the best in Mexico, they came with a result that it was not going to work. That, it wasn't needed. Nobody needs a creative university with a business, with 1,000 hours of business and entrepreneurship, and a private university from you. Please. So they said, don't even go there. You're going to lose your money, your prestige. It's not worth it.
So that seems to be one of the things that inspire you, right? When somebody says can't be done, you're like, oh, okay.
No, you have no idea, Rachel. When we came out of the room, Kirsten, my Austrian friend, she said, should I go back to Austria? And I go, of course not. This was just a check the box thing. We will do it. We have to find the right team. When they tell me how many people work for you, 0. They work with me. That we work together. And so we have to build a team, and this team needs to have this project as their own project, this dream as their dream, and this purpose as their purpose. So that's what we did. And we have an amazing team. Centro is an outstanding university. We have agreements with the top universities in the world. And we have a master's degree linked with Sotheby's, in fashion, with Fashion Institute of Technology, and we are with Milan, with the Polytechnic of Milano. We are the top university by far. Nobody even gets close to us.
So Gina, are you going to be the very first university in the world to offer a bachelor's in family office studies?
I don't know, because I'm a creative university, so I don't think it goes.
We've been trying for 10 years up here with the Ivies, and it's so hard to get a program accredited. And I'm so amazed that I know what the process is, and to have watched that you just said, oh yeah, we'll build a university, and the accreditation. Building a university is one thing. Getting accreditation and recognition of accreditation is not something you can almost just force your way through. It's so much glad handling and egos. I'm so impressed with that. That's amazing.
Right. I mean, and besides, Rachel, speaking to people like the Mexican government, because, they don't understand what, I needed to have accreditation for every single program, for programs that are very innovative. They didn't even know how to write them. They said, what do you mean you're going to be, a 4-year degree on this? And I said, yes, exactly what we need. 4-year degree on this and this and this and this. So we really had an issue, as you said. It's not that way. It took me 6 years, and inside a small house, just doing plans and studies and things. And now we have 350 professors from 26 nationalities.
It's just amazing. And how many separate degree programs do you have?
We have 7, it's going to be 8 this year, actually, degrees, but we have 20 graduate studies, master degrees, and we have 200 courses of continuous education.
Wow.
Did you call them afterwards? Did you call that marketing company and say, hey guys, if you need some marketing consulting services, I can do that, because you guys kind of need it.
Well, I think they see it for themselves, Danny. I think it's funny, but they see it for themselves. And that's when I realized that my purpose, actually I took a course on purpose, and my purpose was definitely education. I mean, my work became everything that I told you before, but my purpose definitely is education. That is why when I was named, after almost 20 years of being part of the committee of 200 women, which we go to different universities to speak to women MBA and women PhD. And I'm talking about women that are at Stanford, Yale, MIT, Harvard. And you see these women very sitting in the back. They don't raise their hand. They're very insecure. They don't know what's going to happen. And every time I gave a talk there, I thought that I was giving a recipe where no ingredients were to be found, because you talk about mentorship, sponsorships, negotiation skills, balancing of life. So all of those things that are called soft skills, that LinkedIn just published 15 skills that you need for the new world, for the new reality. And from those 15, 11 were soft skills. And those soft skills are never, ever taught in a university. Even if, you can do 10 master's degrees and 2 PhDs at the top universities in the world, they're not going to teach you these things. So that's where I decided to go to Dahlia Empower, which is my new education project. Because with that in mind, and then going into the G20, in the 2 initiatives that I handled, which is the W20 and Empower, I know that women in the world, again, in the world, it's not Mexico. It happened to be, it started in Mexico. It's a US company, because Dahlia Empower is a US company. But I decided to open in every part of the world. It's going to be global. I'm going to go for the whole part of the world, and I'm going to help women achieve their personal and professional goals and increase B2B between women, because the companies that women start tend to stay small. And one of the things that is happening after COVID, which even made it more important, the presence of Dahlia, is that, women that were at home for a few months are going to find themselves permanently at home, because the jobs are not going to be there, and the jobs are going to be given to men, thinking that men are the providers. So women are becoming entrepreneurs by force. So we have to help these women scale their businesses to the size that they can be funded by a VC. So that's a program that Dahlia does. And Dahlia is not a non-for-profit. I decided to do an impact investing company, because I want, when I'm not here in this world, I want this to continue. And I know that it has an incredible potential, because my goal is to reach 100 million women in 10 years. And like in COVID, we grew almost 5 times, Dahlia, because we found that due to we are hybrid, but obviously at COVID, we became all virtual. And we found out that being virtual, we reach so many people. So we are going, we're going to stay virtual, but also with spaces in different parts of the world, because women need to get together. The network of women is very important, that they go to a place. We're not Coursera, we are not, these online courses. We are a community building for women that will help them reach their goal. We have a huge program of entrepreneurs and sponsors. And we also have a very important program on teaching companies that they have to work together, men and women. We also created at Dalia an index. As you know, Bloomberg has the most important index in gender and diversity. I've been talking to Bloomberg for the past two and a half years. They told me, you can have our index and take it to Mexico. The problem is that the index of Bloomberg is for companies of 1 billion up. That's difficult, to have revenues of 1 billion. There are companies, but in Mexico, it's not easy. So we decided, with the help of them and all other advisors, to create our index for SMEs or any kind of companies. So companies need to be measured, and data needs to be there in order for them to know where they stand in gender, race, and diversity. And once the companies are measured, and they do the proper changes, they become part of the index. And we give them the certification of gender, race, and diversity companies. So that's Dalia, and that's where I am. I'm in the process of making Dalia grow. I'm going to the first seed round this year. I was going to do it last year, but due to COVID, I decided to wait and see what happened to Dalia at COVID. And I was surprised, as I told you, to grow almost 5 times. So now it's the time.
So Gina, let me ask you this, because I know this is a big discussion in the United States right now, which is women on boards. Huge discussion, as though it was the first time in 2021 that anybody thought, wow, there maybe should be some women on boards in the United States. How is that situation in Mexico? Are more women getting on boards? Or are they facing the same?
I wish we were the same, Rachel. In Mexico, we are an average of 6 to 8% women on boards. And actually, we have a course called Women for Boards that we certified with the best business school in Mexico. We are working together for Dalia. And it's so much, as you said, in the noise, in the voice now, that obviously is going to change. Obviously, it's going to change, and it's funny, but it's not about giving women a chance. You all know business people that are in the call. This is about giving the companies the opportunity to make better results. Not because women are so much brighter or men are more brighter. It's just diversity thinking. If we are diverse thinkers, companies get better results. I mean, all of the big companies, the big research companies, every single one of them, started with McKinsey, Bain, everybody, Boston Consulting, they have all published results on diverse groups, not only of board positions, but also on startups. I mean, diversity makes profits. So that what we need to be talking about is how much more do you want to leave on the table? How many checks do you want to leave on the table every time you stand up from a board that is all men thinking the way you think? Yeah. So that's the thing. Actually, when I was named this December part of the global board of Santander, I am the only Latin American woman on a board this size, and the only 2 Mexicans that are on boards of the international financial groups with presence in Europe. It's the former candidate for president. He's a board member of HSBC, and myself on Santander. So, I think that it's a challenge, but we all have to realize that it is about making better decisions and being more profitable.
And before I'll let Wendy ask the next question, and I see some questions from the audience here. Your next generation. So unlike your parents and your house, you probably learned a lot, and you took your next generation, or you took them to a different place and probably gave them a lot of liberty in what they want to do. Could you share with us how you treated your next generation? And if you can share with us a little bit about what they do, because I think it's phenomenal. Each and every one has an amazing story. again on that they've built on their own.
Yes, I always thought that it was good to let them fly alone. You know, let me tell you a little bit of a message from Malala to the world. I had the pleasure of being with Malala several times, especially at the G20. And I was with Malala and her father. And, you know, she told me something that stayed with me. And I always tell this to fathers. And Malala said, you know, my father gave me wings to fly. And now he's the wind that blows behind my wings. So, you know, I always thought that I should be flying behind the wings of my children. And I didn't think that it was, unless they were dying to work with me, which is great. But if they wanted to do their own thing, I would back them up as much as I could. And something interesting then, you know, I'm not backing them with money. Eh? I mean, they're on their own. And they're on their own, struggling and doing, and, you know, sometimes they stay in a tiny little hotel because, you know, they cannot spend more with their business traveling. But, you know, they're all so successful. My two sons decided to start a media company. Now they call them content developers because life has changed now with all the television and the things. And they are the most successful content developers in our country. And they do content for all of the top, you know, companies that need content, like Netflix, obviously, HBO, Apple, you know, the whole spectrum. And they're always working. They won a Grammy, you know, so they're really an Emmy. They won an Emmy, and they work all over the world, and they're extremely successful. And now, actually, they just finished now. I was thinking, a television series that is on 92 countries that is called Monarca. Actually, it's also in English, so you should watch it because it's all the story of tequila in Mexico. It's a beautiful series. And my daughter, she is a designer. She lives in New York. She was born in the United States. She lives in New York. She studied in Yale and then in UPenn. And she has her own company, a graphic design group. And 2 days a week, she works for LVMH because they adore what she does. And she does branding for the most important companies. Then my other daughter, she's an actress. She's a you know, scriptwriter, and she's a producer. And she's working now with HBO, doing an amazing series that I cannot tell you the name, but it's going to be amazing. She's in the writer's room, and she's producing, and she might be acting on that. And she also she has a startup that she believes in, that, you know, now with Instagram and everything, she believes that everything is about fake stories and life should be about real stories. So she has something that she calls it technology for good. And she invented something called Story Place. And Story Place is about people in the world. It's on 98 countries now. And everybody puts their story, a true story, not necessarily the last Chanel bag they bought, or the handsome husband that they have, or a guy, how much he has lifted weight. They don't care about that. It's about real people, real stories. And so it's story sharing, which has been extremely successful. And with that, she also invented, through that platform, that is Story Place also, something that helps writers to put their story into the buyers of scripts. So it helps them to, you know, she has if you put your story and you want to be, that people buy your story, let's say from HBO or from Netflix, this platform helps you build your story as a script. So it goes to the top people, because it's very difficult for them to reach the top people that are going to buy a script. So she says that she's democratizing storytelling. And that has been an amazing success for her. And you know, now for COVID, you have no idea for mental health, because people have been sharing their stories on mental health due to COVID. And to hear somebody else's story, they get together and it's a therapy. It's like a therapy. And she has over 50,000 users from over almost 100 countries. So that's where my children are.
Amazing.
And amazing for Gina, where she didn't mention it, but I'm a working mother, and obviously you were, and you raised all these beautiful children.
Right.
While you created all these amazing companies. And, you know, I know they wouldn't be the people they were if that wasn't a hands-on bit of mothering. So that's amazing to do all of that, but be present in their lives all the way through.
Well, Rachel, I think that one of the most important things is to take guilt away from you, to put guilt on the drawer and lock it and don't feel guilty at all, because everybody fails at some point. You can fail as a mother, as an owner, as an entrepreneur, as a whatever. So, fail is in our DNA, and it's okay. It's okay to fail. So, I wasn't the perfect mother, but I always tell the women that are concerned about that issue that the minute you are a working mother, you're setting an example. You're setting an example of your girls to find the right person that allows them to grow professionally, and for the boys to find the right woman that they admire for the rest of their life because they're independent. So, I think that's very important to be able to achieve that in your children.
I love it. And Denny, there was a lot of questions. Do you want to pull them up or should I?
Go ahead. I'm trying to fix the camera. I hope I will fix it by the end of the session, because I didn't plan it right. And no, I'm kidding. By the way, speaking of women and great people working together, I forgot to mention that I want to thank Yvonne Berry for introducing us, Gina. So thank you, Yvonne. Yeah. So somebody's asking how can we invest? I think you mentioned 10 different projects, so I asked him in which direction. Wendy, go ahead. There's a lot of stuff here.
Oh my gosh, there is just so many questions. So a couple of the things is Gina, they were asking, how do you get people to work in teams? Because this seems to be something that's a little difficult to get people to collaborate through your university and through your businesses. How do you create that team environment where they get the buy-in and they all want to work together?
And I think that one of the things that helped me is that all my business, especially the last two that are in my purpose, are it's an impact business. I mean, every time you go and work, you know that you're changing lives of people. So that helps that helps because the people that work in those companies, it's a different mind frame. They like to work in teams. They like to work together. And another important thing is to make them know and feel that is their project. Because many people think that I want you to help me with my project. Well, I mean, you help up to a point. But then you look for another opportunity. I think if you want to really work together, you have to make them know, because it's a truth, that is their project. And that every single time they achieve something in their group, they will change somebody's life. And I think I'm lucky to have that type of businesses, because it's easier to get the teams. I've gotten people that honestly they make more money than I can pay them at Dahlia, because Dahlia it's a little bit of a startup already on the way up. But I mean, it was a startup, so I cannot pay the salaries of McKinsey, Bain, and all of these people. But they have left this company to come to Dahlia because the young generation, they want to make a change. They definitely want to work in a company that is making a change. So, I think for me, it was easier.
So another question that folks had asked was, have you ever considered taking all the people you've met and creating a social network?
Well, not necessarily a social network. I mean, I would love for them to be on Story Plays with my daughter's network, because I think it's much more profound than a social network, because to share stories about people, I would love to know the stories of everybody that I have met. That would be amazing, to share these stories, and I think that's definitely what I would love to hear what's going on in their lives, what happened, how, what is going on. So I would love to have that, instead of looking at a picture on how they look. That is probably not the way they look, because
Yeah.
they probably have all of these filters that is, I would rather have their story.
That is awesome. And really quick, just to everybody, there was 4 or 5 of them asking me if I'd heard about this program or that. Yes, we have. I'm going to call out Howard Cooper and Steve Boyer. I don't think they're on, but what we had wanted to see was a BA in family office degrees that was like 1/3 an MBA, 1/3 law, and 1/3 psychology. Because we determined that if you didn't have the EQ part with the business, with the law, that you couldn't effectively run it. So there are a lot of great programs. I didn't mean to say that there were not great programs for family offices, but none of them have really become an accredited bachelor degree. And we had tried to do that with Yale and Stearns. It's got a ways to go yet so that we can actually legitimize ourselves as a family office industry, like accountants and lawyers and everybody else. We don't have that for family offices. So I am aware. I didn't mean to offend anybody out there. Denny, do you want to ask the next one?
So, wow, loads of stuff going on here. So at least 2 families, Gina, wrote that they want to invest with you. One of them didn't mention where and what. The other one did. I'm based in the UK and would like to contribute and know more about Dahlia empowering.
Dahlia Empower.
Yeah. So what is the best way? I mean, this session is recorded and we will share it later on, but what would be the best way? Who do they communicate with?
Let me give you my personal email, please.
Yeah, so we will send it to them in that case.
Please send it to them. And Dahlia Empower, I mean, I think it's a great thing, because definitely I already have I think I have 11 countries that want to open Dahlia in their countries. I have Israel, I have
You have Israel?
Yeah, I have Israel. I have Portugal, I have Kenya, I have the area of Florida, because United States, you cannot have United States, like it's huge. But I have Florida. In Latin America, I have Colombia, Brazil, Panama, Peru. Which one else? I can share with you all of it. It's a very big expansion plan. And it's a great thing, because, women are, I mean, what you do in the change, for example, we have programs from entrepreneurs to women in business. We also deal with women in public sector, in training them, to women on boards. That's like our spectrum. And we definitely also teach men. When we go to companies to give them, courses, we include men, and we teach men, for example, the new masculinities. And what does it mean? It means that if you're a man now, you cannot be the same man as you were 20 years ago. I mean, your role is different. So it is an extremely important role that women need in order to get to gender equality. And men are, honestly, they don't know where to go. They don't know where to help. They don't know what to do. So these courses are amazing, and it's all for men. So I think that, it's been an amazing thing what we have achieved.
My wife is trying to teach me those courses in a little bit of a tougher way.
That's the thing.
And I'm telling her, but look at my father and my mother, and she said, you're outdated, and I'm trying to convince her otherwise. It doesn't work.
You're a work in progress, Denny.
No, that's right. Your wife is right. Send her to Dahlia, and I will give her what she needs to teach you.
My wife is from Finland, so trust me, if there's anywhere in the world where women are doing well, I think it's the Nordic countries. Yeah. So Wendy knows Linda. So I'll pick another one. So somebody's writing, your story is most inspiring. You have impacted and inspired many women, all ages. Have you considered connecting all of those who you have supported into a network of some sort? So that's one of the questions.
Well, there will be networking in Dahlia, believe me. I mean, we already have hundreds of thousands of women connected. So I think that they will be connected. And for example, the B2B, we have an app and we have a platform of our own. So one of the things that is very important is, let's say that you are a woman that is developing technology in the United States, and you want to grow to Israel, which is that mother of technology. Where do you find the right woman to be partnered with you in Israel? I mean, it's so difficult, you have no clue. But you go into Dahlia's technology, Dahlia's app, and you see women by sector, by countries. So you get together, you do whatever you want to do we're not charging anything for that, and you get to know whatever you want to know and do whatever you want to do in Israel, in Colombia. Let's say you have apparel and you want to export to Brazil. You have women in Brazil that are in apparel that would be interested in what you're doing in the United States or in Mexico.
By the way, I see that more and more. I was just telling Wendy just yesterday that I have a pharmaceutical company from Israel that contacted me saying, asking if I can find a woman that can sit on the board.
Exactly. And we are the training that we're doing for women. We're working with different, because we believe in collaboration. When I talk, I always put a picture of the BlackBerry. And I said the BlackBerry, it was an amazing machine, but it wasn't a standalone machine. So that's why it went absolutely down. I don't want to be a BlackBerry. Nobody wants to be a BlackBerry. So, we believe in collaboration. We believe in alliances. And I think that's the only way to grow as much as we want to grow. And that's why, literally, that's why I said, we need smart money. We need people that will help us grow. And that is why Dalia, and let me tell you how Dalia is spelled for your audience, because it's D-A-L-I-A, not H, D-A-L-I-A, empower. Okay, DaliaEmpower.com. And you can, my Dalia mail is gina@daliaempower.com. So, I think that is why we're definitely aligned with many organizations, worldwide organizations. And that's a way to do it, Danny, to grow with people.
Yeah, I will write everybody the website as well, if I'll just figure out how to do that in a second. And Wendy, you answered the question about, they asked you about the Smith Family Business Initiative, right?
Yeah, there are different educational fonts that are starting to be available, but nothing on the accredited degree level for a bachelor's. We'll see. It'll come. So Gina, you said it was going to be in 11 countries, and those are going to be physical sites in those 11 places?
No, it's going to be for more than 11. In 11, I already have the letter of intent.
Okay.
But the idea is to go into like a partnership with locals, because I believe that even though let's say I know very well, for example, London, I don't know how London works. So I have to find somebody from UK in order to open Dalia. So they have to have like a physical space, which is a small space. It's about 1,500 square feet. So it's a small, for those in meters, 150 meters. So it's a small space, but in this space, they will have an area for networking and an area for lectures. But we also have a huge program, an online program. And we also have we call it Dalia to go, which is Dalia for all the companies, the corporations that are in the area where this person has, let's say, the franchise or the association. If you are, for example, in Panama, all of the businesses in Panama, you will be targeted, these businesses in Panama, with the courses that we give you. So we give you the courses, the speakers, the technology, all the layout of your space. But the area of space is extremely important because, the sorority that takes place when there's a place that you can gather, even if it's a small space, it's extremely important.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
Denny, any more questions came up?
Yeah.
I think a few.
Let's see. How did your university deal with the liberal, non-conservative bias prevalent in almost all institutions of higher learning in both American and Canadian universities? Did you allow different points of view to all coexist and express their own views, whereas in American universities, they shut down and shut out conservative, divergent viewpoints?
That's an amazing question. I love that question because when I started doing the research at the university, the first thing I did, I said, I'm going to write the 15 best universities in the world. I don't care where they are. They can be, for example, there's one in Finland. So I said, I don't care where they are, the best universities in the world. And I'm going to ask for a meeting, literally 10 minutes with the president of the university. I don't want to speak to the provost, to the president. And when I did it, I had one question to ask. What would you do different if you were able to change something, like magically change something of your university? And more than 80% of these people told me, get rid of bureaucracy. Because bureaucracy, even if I have the greatest idea, by the time I pass board 1, board 2, this and that, it's outdated. So one of the things that we have is zero bureaucracy. Although we have been existing for 17 years, we're still a work in progress. And talking about the question that they asked me, we are one of, I don't know how many more universities are like us in the world, but we are a university where everybody and every voice is heard and welcome. All diversity is there. All points of view are listened. We give, the professors are in their dream house because they are free to teach the way they want to teach as long as they do the curricula that we need them to give. But the way everybody teaches is their way. And again, we always tell them that it's their project, that it's their university, that it's the family. We are a family business, which is, the university getting together. So yes, we give freedom. We give a lot of freedom to the professors and to directors. One of the things that we do is all the professors, we don't have full-time professors. Every professor needs to be successful in a business, in any business that they do. So how can somebody teaches you entrepreneurship if he has been a full-time professor for 40 years? I mean, he has never paid a payroll on a Friday. So, you know, somebody needs to teach you because he has been there. So that's something that we do. And it's been very, very successful that we don't have full-time professors.
Now, others, more people want to invest. I see here, I can invest my time and expertise in leadership for women. I heard they need seed funding. Would love to look at it. So just write us and we'll connect you to Gina. Another one is writing.
I put on the chat my personal email, Danny.
Oh, great, great. And for those that would like to see the recorded session later, or I don't know, or lose this email for whatever reason, just contact us. I would love to share her work and her daughter's story plays through my site, Community Hollywood LIT. So Lynn, that would be great, I believe.
Please send me their contact because my daughter would be so happy to talk to them.
So Lynn, either you send an email to Gina or send me your information. Here's what she wrote. I will share it with all of you. Now, amazing, amazing. That's what they say. I'm just making it more alive.
You're acting.
I am, yeah. I always told Wendy that, you know, there are all those family office groups which are great, but, you know, they're all 3-piece suited. If there were a 5-piece suit, they would have bought those as well. And I'm trying to keep a more flowing conversation. You know, my good friend Tal Carrot, by the way, that's the event I hope Gina would be able to speak at, and Wendy knows very well. He's a very good friend of ours, the Silverstein family, the owners of the World Trade Center. And he always told me from day one, listen, Danny, we deal with human beings and we want to have the good people around us, not those that are, you know, just because they are wealthy or not wealthy, or, you know, I don't know how I came to this topic. Actually, it's a different topic. It's a different call. Anyway, we like to keep it natural is what I'm saying. So amazing, amazing. Wendy, explain to me later how I ended up talking about something that's irrelevant to in any
it's
way.
the creative side of your brain, Denny.
It's the
And for those
creative
who
side of my
don't know,
brain.
get Denny around a piano and it's concert level. And he doesn't share that, but that's all, come on. That's the whole creative side of you that makes you unique.
Thank you.
It really does. And you're too modest to say it.
Have you noticed my skills of turning everything towards me at the end of the day somehow? No, I'm kidding. But thank you. I appreciate it. So one is writing, amazing, amazing. What is your next direction you're thinking about, Gina?
My next direction is to get to the amount of women I need to get to Dahlia and make Dahlia the most important women platform in the world.
Amazing. Oh my God, my wife writes me here. The wife is listening and is very much impressed. Thank you for it. Gina, you just got me into so much trouble. You have no idea what just happened. I didn't know she was on the call.
Well, let me tell you a story about a wife, because I'm happy that your wife is here. The other day I saw the CEO of one of the top banks of Mexico, BBVA actually, and he said, what did you do? What did you tell my wife? And I said, I don't even know your wife. I mean, I've never met your wife in my life. And he goes, I came to the house last night, and he told me, now you're not my husband. You are my partner in life. I said, you got to the next step. Congratulations, because I spoke in a university and I said, we don't need husbands. Husbands don't need wives. We all need partners in life. So this wife told the chairman of BBVA, now you're not my husband, you're my partner in life. So
I love it. That's awesome.
So that's a problem with I'm happy that your wife is here. I'm so happy.
So Gina has been, that's Desiree, our good friend Desiree Patno, the one and only miracle maker and woman leader. And Gina has been building this out for years. It was her vision and just didn't know it. And NAWRB, Desiree's organization is happy to support and help. So thank you, Desiree. I sit on the board of the DFW Turnaround Management Association, and we have the network of women. and we are expanding the diversity network. This network is run and led by women in restructuring. How can get them introduced? Well, you can contact Gina. That would be great. Obedia for the UK, Richard would be a connection for Dahlia. Okay, you can also talk with to Gina about that. Are you addressing the digital divide? I'm not sure.
What do you mean by digital?
I have no idea, but it's a good title for a film, The Digital Divide. Have you ever thought about setting up in the Middle East?
Yes, I think the Middle East is an amazing market for us and for women. You know, I just need the right partner. I don't know the region. I mean, as I should, honestly. But I would love to have somebody running Middle East, definitely.
I actually, funny you've mentioned, we're doing our first event in the UAE, as you may know, in June. And I have spoken to amazing families there. Some of them are women leaders in a world that's been changing quite, significantly, I think, when it comes to women. They still got some way to go in some countries, but I feel they're doing a lot in that direction. I'll be happy to talk to you about that, and hopefully actually get you to the UAE to speak at our conference. John here is writing, we support women worldwide and would like to partner with you. He's talking about the Athena International Organization. Again, John, we shared Gina's information, so you can contact her directly on that. Such an inspiring session, Gina. Your story is most powerful. Thank you for all for bringing this event to us. The Dahlia Empower website and community network is in Spanish. When is English coming to the network?
It is also in English. You can click English, and it is in English as well.
Yeah, I think this is about that. Wow, it's a lot of stuff coming here. Wendy, anything else you'd like to ask Gina at this stage? I mean, we would probably do a follow-up session as well, because we really touched a little bit of this magnificent story.
I'd like to grab her for 8 hours, but I definitely think we need a follow-up, and I think maybe take all the questions and we can do it as a follow-up session and be a little more interactive if Gina's willing.
I would love to have all the questions and all the comments, and I would answer them, because I mean, I think they're extremely interesting and very, very important for me to get in touch with these people. I think they can give me a lot of advice and a lot of feedback, and if anybody wants to be an investor at this stage, I would love to have them, because I know that this is exactly the smart money that we're looking for. You know, at some point in the beginning of Dahlia, I had a meeting with Goldman Sachs that they wanted to know more about investing. But that's a typical money that it's great to have, and the name is amazing, but I need more the people and the family offices and the people that can really help me to open the markets that I need to open, more than a humongous elephant coming in and just. So I think that was not the proper time for me, so I didn't want to take it. And I think that your group is outstanding, Benny. So I would love to get in touch with everybody. And
we are, by the way, we would love to have you at our conferences in Canada, in the US. By the way, in some way I relate to what you said before. When I did the Canadian event, the first one, I came there and I didn't see any of our, let's say, better competitors. There are a lot of not so great competitors, but the best were not in Canada. And I was like wondering, am I missing something here? And the only arrogant Canadian I met, because most Canadians are not, told me, then you'll never get it done in Canada, because one, families are too private in Canada, and B, even if you do that, we know everybody. He's an asset manager. And I told him, listen, I come from Israel. That's not something you say to someone from Israel. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write your name on a wall, and you're going to be the first email I'm writing you later. And I sent him a picture of the Four Seasons, packed like, that was the best ever first-time conference we ever did, ever. Easy Sharp, the founder of the Four Seasons, spoke. And since then, our Canadian market is probably our most successful growing market. I hope I didn't give my competitors ideas now. Yeah, so Gina, it's been amazing. We would love to see you at our conferences, perhaps even in New York. Right now, we plan to do our next conference April 22nd with Larry Silverstein, one of the greatest stories in New York City. One of the biggest developers, came with nothing to the US, ended up building buying the World Trade Center a week before 9/11, and now rebuilt it to something amazing story. So that's April 22nd. We might move it to May, but right now this is what we're looking at. In June, we're in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And next week on Tuesday, I'm speaking with an Israeli company that managed to develop a way to grow seaweed in the land. It has a lot of reasons. We'll talk about that and about that industry that lies behind that. Gina and Wendy, thank you so much for being with me here today. It's been an exciting session, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all in person and hopefully with no masks as well very soon. Yeah, that sentence somehow never ended for me, but you know what I mean.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity
Gina.
to speak with you.
Gina, it was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Hopefully,
Thank you all.
we get in
Stay
touch.
safe.